Hello everybody, welcome back to High Ground. My name is Tanner, and today we're going to be going over the EUL stage number 1, phase number 1. So pretty much the same thing we did for Brazil yesterday, and it is pretty much the same system as Brazil. There's 10 teams rather than the 8 teams that we have in NA. So again, there's going to be 2 groups. They play a round robin within the group, and then that determines their seeding for a bracket that will be played very, very soon. And I'm actually going to peek at that really quickly because 40 minutes from the time I'm recording this, the first match begins, and it's not like I had a bunch of time to do this. The games ended yesterday, so either I record the day they end or the day the bracket starts. It's one or the other. And honestly, I probably would have just done it day that they ended if I realized it was the very next day, but here we are. So yeah, I did not quite realize that. Let's go through the group games. So we'll go top to bottom. Group A, G2, Virtus Pro, Heroic, BDS, and TT9. And in Group B, top to bottom, Wild, M&M, Secret, Koi, and Wolves. So yeah, definitely some surprises, a little bit more so than we had in Brazil. That was all pretty cut and clean. And maybe not too many, but I mean certainly some big ones. BDS not making it, Koi not making it, Wolves not making it. BDS major winner last year, Koi major winner last year, Wolves one of the most consistent the most consistent major attending team last year. They went to all of them, one of only 2 teams along with W7M. So yeah, big shock to not see them make it. Technically they can still make it to the major. They have to go through more rigorous they have to go through other quals before they can make it to the major, whereas the other 6 teams can just instantly qual by going through the bracket. Only 3 of them will actually do so. 2 of them to phase 2, 1 of them to phase 1. And yeah, let's just take a look at the actual matches. I'm not going to go over the rosters here. I already did that in the past, so no need to do it like I did for Brazil. Okay, so going down the line, Heroic 7-0ing TT9. Yeah, terrible start for TT9. They were really bad before, and they're really bad now despite changing their entire roster. I do think people expected them to be the worst team in the league, but maybe not as bad as they were. They got 8 wins over the course of 4 games, 8 round wins, I should say. So they got 7-0, they got 7-1, they got 7-1 again. Is that right? 7-0? No, they got 7-0 twice. My bad. 7-1, and then they actually almost beat VP. But that's, 7 of their 8 rounds came in one of the games played, and 1 round in the other 3 games is obviously terrible. At least they got a single point on the board, but yeah, they're going to need to figure things out. There was 1 round where G2 in the prep phase just stood still, didn't do anything, and then they still smoked them on that round. It's so funny. Anyways, yeah, so Heroic starts out 7-0ing TT9, so it looks like the new look Heroic, which we've had many times. Heroic has made a lot of changes over the last year or 2 years or whatever. But yeah, no, they look strong once again, taking down TT9 easily. G2 taking down BDS, not easily, 7-5, close game. And I mean, you'll notice, yeah, G2 topping the group. Oxygen did pretty well in NA. They obviously fell apart in the last day. W7M topping their group in LATAM, or in Brazil, I guess I can say now. Astralis doesn't exist anymore. So, I mean, of the top 4 teams, 3 of them still exist, and, well, 2 of them made significant changes only one of them. W7M made a couple of changes, G2 no changes, Oxygen no changes. But what I'm trying to say is that in the past, teams that have done quite well at the events, and maybe even particularly Invitational, have kind of fallen off. That happened to TSM and Sonics at the previous Invitational. They were really bad afterwards. That happened to NiP when they won the year before that. That happened to like Koi. They won a major, then they didn't make it the next one. That sort of happened to BDS. They won a major, and then they only made top 16 at SI. It's happened numerous times, and maybe you could sort of say that happened for some of the teams. Like Koi made top 6, but then they didn't do very well here. But again, the top 3 teams all two of the 3, the 2 grand finalists from SI, they still made top 1 in their groups, and we'll see what they do in the bracket. And then Oxygen were poised for top 1 in their group, but in all of NA of the top 8 teams, but they fell a little bit flat. But still they're playing in the bracket. Anyways, just wanted to point that out. Yeah, so G2 taking down BDS, and then Virtus Pro take down G2. They played 3 really close games. Virtus Pro did. They won twice in overtime. They won once in regulation, max regulation, and then they got kind of smoked in their last game. But let's keep going in order. Heroic takes down BDS, so it's 0-2 for BDS, not a single point on the board. A little bit puzzling. I mean, G2, Heroic, 2 good teams. Obviously, they're 2 of the teams that make it out, but definitely not the start that you would have hoped for BDS. They won the most recent non-SI major, and then they sort of fell flat at SI, and now they're falling flat again here. Sort of weird when we look at the stats. You'll notice quite an anomaly there. VP take down TT9 8-7, so I don't know how they let TT9 get 7 rounds when they could only get 1 round against the other 3 teams, but that happened. G2 take down Heroic 7-4, proving that they are, pretty well the top of the group. Obviously they end there, but at this point it's pretty much confirmed. I don't know if it was 100% confirmed here, I don't recall, but basically they were the top 2 teams in the group, and then G2 took them down in regulation. BDS 7-0ing TT9 just like Heroic did. VP takes down Heroic 7-5, so finally a regulation win for VP. And do keep in mind, VP is basically the old Empire roster. They added Pasha, and then it's always Joystick, Shepard, and Dan. And then so the final day, 7-2 BDS win over VP, and 7-1 G2 over TT9. So a single round for TT9. They didn't get 7-0 3 times, but just 2 times in half their games. And BDS beating VP 7-2. If they won 7-0 or 7-1, they would have gone to the bracket rather than Heroic. You'll notice a tiebreaker here. They were on the same number of points, same round differential, same pretty much everything, except for Heroic had the head-to-head over BDS, putting them into the bracket. So I'm sure Heroic was sweating it. BDS went up 5-1 on their whichever half. I don't know which half did they start on. They started on defense, yeah. So they went up 5-1 on defense, and TT9 was so slow. They were just losing to the clock like every round. They won 1 round, but that's just 1 round. And then they switch sides and they go up 6-1, I think, and then so they need to win. If they win the next round, they go to bracket. If they lose the next round, they don't go to bracket. They lose that round, and then they win the round after that. So definitely a heartbreaker there for BDS and their fans. And that's Group A. We'll look at Group B now. So you'll notice Wild not dropping a single point, going 2.0 win-loss ratio in terms of rounds, plus 14 to full 12 points. Yeah, the whole shebang. Really, really impressive. But MNM, no slouches either, only taking point loss, losing 3 points to Wild, but not losing a single point elsewhere. So this was sort of a farm fest. Wild beat all of their opponents, MNM beat all of their opponents except for Wild, and then it was a little bit of a slugfest. Wolves not getting a single win, Koi only getting an overtime win, and Team Secret taking the 3rd spot. And I don't think anybody expected this. On paper, just looking at the group before things started, maybe actually you might have thought Wild was the worst team, but that was quickly proven wrong. But if you didn't think it was Wild, probably you thought it was Secret based on what has happened in the past, and then the fact that MNM, Koi, Wolves, they've all gone to majors, they've put up decent performances and whatnot. And Koi and Wolves falling very much flat, both going -9 on round differential, and again, just the 1 win for Koi. And I assume that was against Wolves, right? Where is that one? Koi, yeah, and it was very, very close, even between the 2 of them. So pretty evenly matched, both got 2 points, I guess. But anyways, let's look at the game specifically. MNM 7-4ing Secret, Wild 7-2ing Koi, so sort of setting up the trajectory for the entire phase with MNM and Wild taking the lead early, with Wild taking 1st place based off this round differential. And then we have Wild 7-4ing Secret and Koi 8-7ing Wolves, so there's that very, very close game between the 2 of them. Wild taking down MNM 7-5, and so sort of establishing them as the real top dogs. MNM, they were close to pushing overtime, but not quite. And then Secret 8-6 over Wolves. So Secret had I guess not super close calls. They only went to overtime 1 time, but I feel like no, I guess not as close as I thought. Secret had a lot of overtime games in the past. At one stage, they just I think they just kept going overtime and lose. I don't know. Remind me if you guys remember that. Anyway, Secret, yeah, just the 1 overtime game. All their other games were actually 7-4s, whether they got 7-4'd or they won 7-4. So funny enough there. Anyways, yeah. Then we have Wild taking down Wolves 7-3, and MNM taking down Koi 7-5, and then Secret 7-4 over Koi, and MNM 7-5 over Wolves. So actually no overtime in the last 2 days here. And I mean, yeah, that's Group B, I suppose. This almost looks upside down, I guess. Maybe you'd expect Team Secret at the bottom, but a lot of people probably had Koi and Wolves as the 2 highest teams, and then MNM 3rd or something. And maybe people were high on Wild. They had a good performance back at the Gamers 8 Invitational a while back, but that was a very different roster. It's only Corey, or not Corey, only Aces as a returning player from that, so very different stuff. But no, they've proven that they can hang. Aces and Hungry making their return back to the top. And am I actually missing a player, or is it Oh, and Pack Bowl as well, yeah. And then Jags and Teb, who I suppose were just playing T1 a minute ago, but hadn't been playing for that long. Pack Bowl making his return after the whole secret debacle. Okay, so that does it for the groups. We'll just talk about the bracket very briefly here, or well, we'll see how brief it is. Heroic versus M&M, winner takes on G2. Team Secret versus Virtus Pro, winner takes on Wild. Winner of these fight each other, and once you make it to the upper bracket final, you're already qualified for phase 2, I guess. This is largely a seeding match. Again, correct me if I'm wrong. I believe that's how it works. That's what I said in the previous video. Nobody corrected me. So yeah, I hope I'm not misspeaking there. And then the loser of these, they'll fight each other, and the winner will go to phase 1 of the major. The loser will go to the LCQ along with the loser of each of these matches. So 3 teams going to the LCQ, the closed qualifier effectively. 2 teams going to phase 2 and 1 team going to phase 1 of the major. Of course, LCQ seeding match played between the losers of this. And again, seeding match doesn't really matter too much. Okay, that does it for that. We'll take a quick look at the stats. All right, so yeah, you notice big man Dan taking 3 of the 6 categories, and then we have Shinka, Pack Bowl, Noodle, and funny enough, Noodle topping entry, Shinka topping plants. Neither of these players' teams made it, out of their group. And then, Pack Bowl, highest cost, his team, who very much made it out of the group. Dan with the astronomical rating, 1.4. He went nuke in 3 of his 4 games. He went, I think, 6-7 against BDS, but besides that, he went like 13-8, 16-8, and like 16-5, or something insane like that. He went crazy in most of his games. And, Benja aces the other 2 really big performers, and I think it makes sense, right? These are, well, Benja for G2, aces for Wild. These are the top 2 teams, and then Virtus Pro. Well, let's just look at the overall stats. I guess, if there's anything else you want to notice, feel free to notice here. Here are all the cost players, all the planters. Bigger disparity here than we saw in Brazil. We see 3 really big plant numbers and then a few, mediocre plant numbers, a bunch of 4s across the board. But I guess Wild got quite a few because 7 on Pack Bowl and 4 on Hungry. 11 plants over the course of 4 games. You just don't see as many plants as you did at certain points in the past. Anyways, we'll group by the teams. And yeah, so Heroic, pretty tightly knit, everybody with a positive rating. Do like to see that. Kayak and Joom, the 2 standouts at the moment there. On M&M, uses Solotop, Tyrant. You always see them on the top. Very rare to see them passed by the other 2 members of the team. And Nello and now Nafe has replaced Neo fairly recently. Nafe with not a spectacular performance, but he's playing support roles along with Nello, so it's fine. That's sort of how the team is intended to play. The 3 main fraggers get most of the kills, and then a little bit of backup from Nello and Nafe here and there. It worked pretty well for them in SI groups, and then they fell flat in the SI bracket, but we'll see what they can do in the upcoming bracket. Team Secret, it's Savage on top with Grubby and Astro not too far behind. Slebin and especially YZN struggling, but a hard support player, so give him a little bit of a break. He got a few plants there. On Virtus Pro, Dan going insane, as I mentioned, over a 2 KD on entry, and close-ish to a 2 KD if you got 5 fewer deaths or whatever, 4 fewer deaths. Always with some backup, but Pasha and especially Shepard and Joystick not doing very well. And it's not like Shepard even had that many plants. Maybe he had a lot of plant attempts and he got shut down, but it's really weird to see these 2 sort of legendary players struggling this hard. If Dan and Always hadn't hard carried, maybe Virtus Pro wouldn't have made it out of their group. And then on Wolves, nobody with a positive rating and nobody doing especially bad except for Deadshot, the new addition to the team. Definitely need to see him pick it up playing the Ashe and the Azami. Dropping something like a 0.6 KD, 0.7, whatever that is, negative on entry. And so we'll see. He is brand new, so give him a little bit of time. But just a lackluster performance from Wolves, who are generally pretty consistent. On G2, it is Benjo once again on top, Alamau close behind, Doki, Virtue, Blur down the line. And it makes sense. This is usually what you see. Blur is the hard support, Virtue is the secondary support, and then maybe you would expect Doki above Alamau based on the roles they play, but Alamau is just so consistently good. It's really hard to see this guy putting up negative numbers in most matchup. But yeah, it is Benja doing the real heavy lifting. They're actually pretty bad on entry. Nobody going positive on entry. So of course the team overall going negative -9. But still, they were good enough to get the job done. First place in their group. TT9, these guys got decimated. Yeah, hang on, let me just show this really quickly. They had the 4 lowest rated players, and then they have Kendrew, who are actually above Shepard and Joystick and Deadshot. It's kind of funny, but the 4 lowest rated players. This might be one of the lowest ratings ever over the course of a whole, quote unquote stage, I guess. The stage continues into phase 2 with the playoffs, but TT9 won't be continuing. And you know, they did only play 4 maps, so maybe given 4 more maps, maybe it would have improved his rating. But still, you know, some pretty low ratings there. And we'll go back to this really quickly. And we have, yeah, that's TT9. I mean, not too much to talk about there. They all went about double negative, except for Kendrew. Real LeBron type performance. I don't know. I guess Kendrew's just way better than these guys. Why is he putting up so much better numbers? Peculiar. And then on BDS, yeah, here is the anomaly. Shaiko going negative, both in the rating, especially in the rating, and in the kills. You very rarely, very seldom see that. And even on entry, not quite negative, but still, this has to be cost, right? Yeah, you'd think I memorized which column was which by now, but sometimes you get a little bit tripped up. Survival, very low. Cost, very low. Shaiko was just not getting the job done. He's in a little bit of a slump. I mean, you know, far be it from anyone to call Shaiko washed after 4 bad maps, but, you know, perhaps he'll need to pick it up in the qualifier because, again, BDS is not going through the bracket to potentially auto-qualify for the major. And then on Koi, it is Cryan on top, Noodle and Leader doing fine, the 2 new addition to the squad, and then Deepak and especially Leon sort of struggling. But again, these are the support casts, so you expect them to have the worst stats on the squad. And then Wild, everybody going positive on rating, everybody going positive on kills, everybody except for Teb going positive on entry. Yeah, just a really, really good showing. They had a whole bunch of plants here. They had, you know, 11 just between the 2 of them, but then 3 more, 14 for the whole team. That's double what Koi had. That's way more than BDS had. That's way more than TT, you know, just way more than looks like any other team. These guys have 9. These guys have 7. These guys have 8. Yeah, nobody else even broke double digits. So these guys were getting in, they were getting kills, they were planting the bomb, and really it was everyone getting kills. I mean, only 10 kill difference between the top and the bottom. Ace was really, really impressive. Hungry showing that he is back, playing his variety of operators, and Packbolt perhaps the biggest surprise of anybody. You know, sort of their support player going very positive on kills and entry, and still getting plants down, and really high cost, and you know, decent KPR, all this stuff. Yeah, really good showing from Wild. Let's see if they can carry that through, and I think that pretty much does it. This actually ended up being longer than the Brazil one for whatever reason, even though I technically talked about less stuff here, but I guess I specifically went through the games more in depth than a little bit more in depth than I did for Brazil. But anyways, leave me a like, leave me a sub, leave me a comment, all that good stuff. And with all that being said, catch you guys in the next video.